Yo, what up, big tender navigator squad? It's your boy Skizzle here. Now today we have a lot to discuss about. We gonna talk about how the season will look like for Black Ops 4, but not only for that alone, we're also gonna discuss about, hey, how the zombies will look like, what is going to be the fourth map. That's right, we're not just gonna have 3 maps, we're presumably going to be getting a 4th map, and there's just a lot of information coming out about that. But I also do want to go a little bit further and discuss about the possibilities of us getting Tranzit remastered, Dairaz, and Buried at NukeTown later down the road, because it is very possible because of the fact that what we already know and what Treyarch have provided to us already before we even received DLC 5. So we're just gonna get right into it, but if you're new, definitely do consider subscribing. We're gonna be covering Black Ops 4 all year long, but first things first, this information is basically super logical, because of course when you search up Black Ops 4 on PlayStation 4, hey, nothing comes up except for Black Ops 4 alone. And this is very unusual because normally we get the season pass right off the get-go, and you can actually purchase it. You can have the digital deluxe edition, and in that obviously you have the game, you have some COD points, and then you got some of that, some of this, and obviously you have the season pass. But this time, even the specialist hardened edition, which is an equivalent of a digital deluxe edition, even that doesn't have a season pass. So that led a lot of people scratching their heads, and then mother effing leakers came out right and left. They were screaming that we're gonna have a 4th zombie map, we're gonna have a zombie season pass, and I was kind of sold on that. But then there is Dan Bunting, who works at Treyarch, said some familiar things, and then we got Charlie Intel that also basically said that, hey, this is a very high possibility. And of course, looking back, which I will elaborate in just a little bit, those things really make sense that we're going to have a little bit more maps than usual, and all of this is not really a far-fetched theory. Now, Dan Bunting, who works at Treyarch, was interviewed by Polygon. He did state they're working on plans to make fans happy and the right way to release content at this point in the franchise, and I quote, "I can't tell you at this point in time what's going to look like," he said, "but I can tell you that we are pushing hard to release content to our fans in a way that's going to make them happy, and a way that we believe is the right thing to do in this stage in our game's life." Then Charlie Intel came out and said rumor Call of Duty Black Ops 4 will have free multiplayer DLC with season pass for zombies. And the statement made by Dan Bunting himself, it seems like yes, we're going to have some more maps coming and some maps will be free, but if you put 2 and 2 together, obviously you do not get a 4, you get a 5, and that tells you that this time we're gonna have free maps but for multiplayer, because people that got to speak with Jason Blundell at the event, they had information about the fact that this time around we're going to have 2 zombies map per DLC, and I was left scratching my head, and I was like, damn, that would be really hype to see that actually be a thing for Black Ops 4. And you gotta think about it, a season pass for zombies is very likely, because at E3 Treyarch will be there, and then we got Comic-Con, so there is plenty of time for them to announce this season pass for zombies. And I am really speculating on the fact that this will cost around $30, because a normal season pass is only about $50. So this time it can be $30, but what maps can we get? Because you gotta keep in mind that season pass will definitely give us a bonus map, and that map will be the one that we get to play on day 1 when Black Ops 4 releases. And obviously we are going to get 3 maps with Black Ops 4, the one that is called 9, Voyage of Despair, and lastly we're gonna have Mob of the Dead. So I'm saying dab on them haters, bro, but at the same time we're going to have a DLC or season pass bonus incentive, and that incentive I really feel like will be NukeTown Remaster. Now, where do we have seen NukeTown Remaster or remaster loading screen? I mean, we have seen that in the Zombies comic #1, and that was kind of like the last page. And when that actually happened, I remember that a lot of people really just assumed we're gonna have DLC 5, but a lot of people weren't on it, but I myself was super on it. I was like, we're gonna have NukeTown in Black Ops 3, but obviously that didn't happen. But that will seriously happen, because the second picture was Ascension Remaster loading screen, and the second picture that we had, that was in the second comic for Zombies. So we already know Ascension was part of the Zombies Chronicles, and that legitimately happened, because in this one we had the Gobblegum, we had Dr. Monty, and we had this, and we had that, Samantha of course. And in the third issue we had a third loading screen, and that seriously resembled Noctur Untoten and Mob Mob of the Dead, but we do know that Knockdown and Totem happened in Zombies Chronicles. But the fourth picture was a little bit different, and this had me kind of like wrapping my head around, because obviously this screams that this was about the Reese, aka the Jund that we already had with the season pass, and that was a bonus map, right? And then we also see that this is actually showing us that this is going to be Knockdown Untotem, because of course by the plane we know what's that, because there is a moon behind it. And then we got Virut and we got Shinonima. Now this is very thick, because the next picture that we had was the fifth loading screen, and that was found in the fifth comic book. And this is something that we have already seen, but at the same time there are some elements that we have not seen, because number one, we had NukeTown remaster loading screen, and obviously we did not see that, but the rest we already have, but except for this one. And this one is very similar to the Tranzit loading screen, to the diarized one, and to the buried loading screen. Now I will have like all the picture throughout the video, just like coming up and going down and everything like that, but you gotta keep in mind, in this picture we do see our old crew, the one that we already love. We do see Revelation House, and at the same time we do see a world that is basically not dead yet or not destroyed. And then to the right or bottom right we do see a teleportation actually happening, and that's a teleportation of the Victus crew, and that is a teleportation symbol that we have already seen in diarized loading screen. And I believe in the buried loading screen we do see that the world is destroyed, or maybe that was on Transit, but I'm not totally sure. I will have a picture in the background, but the point being that this is screaming Transit, diarized, and buried. And I really think those maps will happen, because the sixth loading screen, or in the sixth comic book, the last page had a Mob of the Dead remake loading screen. This was not a remaster loading screen, but rather a remake. Now the fifth loading screen that we have is also not a remaster, but rather a remake loading screen. And the NukeTown is also not a remaster loading screen, but rather a remake. But the Mob of the Dead is genuinely a remake loading screen, because obviously the page is basically scrapped, it is broken, or not broken but shredded, right? And we do see the second picture where we see Richtofen teleporting from Zetsubunushima to Mob of the Dead, aka Blood of the Dead, Alcatraz, taking the blood vial. Seems like Weasel was there as well, because we do see a hat. So I'm saying this is really hard, because with the season pass I can really see them releasing NukeTown, because it's not gonna be a big ass map, because we're already getting 3 big maps. So I really hope that they do not release Transit remake in the beginning, because that would be too much. I would love for them to release Transit remake like in DLC 1 or with DLC 1, and having a brand new map and Transit remake, because in Mob of the Dead remake we're obviously going to release the Victus crew, because they are actually inside the pods, and we have seen in the zombie comics that that's exactly what is happening. And one of the coolest thing I spotted recently was the fact that in the zombie comics that we have already received, where we see the Transit crew, we also do see some nasty looking zombies, and these zombies are something that I believe we had a glimpse in the 9 cutscene, which I will just have it in the background right now. So I mean, there is a lot of correlation, and I will definitely give it another read. But if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for more, check out some other videos in the meantime, and I will see you very freaking soon.